Hi, I'm Naomi Holt, an educational psychologist, and parents, this is a really important message for you. This is a message about how to best prepare your child to transition back to school in terms of looking at both their emotional functioning and practically the things that are going to change. School is going to be completely different, and it's up to you as parent, the person who they have felt safest with over this pandemic, to communicate these things honestly and age appropriately. It is not up to the teachers. And if you also leave it until they're back at school to explain these things, you're actually doing your child a disservice in terms of their preparation. The first and most important thing we have to talk about is the wearing of masks. Masks can be really uncomfortable to wear, as we as adults who have been out with them know. Your child is going to be required to wear a mask all the time. What's quite important is that you practice with different masks. Different types are going to be either more or less comfortable. We know that if a mask is not comfortable, a child, any of us, will be pulling at it all the time and touching our faces, which is going to defeat the object. Please practice with masks on, practice with different types of masks on, so that your child can get used to it. If they're not able to get used to it on and they keep pulling it while you're practicing at home, instead of shouting at them from your own fear perspective, rather use a code word or a code sound, because otherwise they're going to have a negative association with masks and with going back to school wearing a mask. The other important thing to remind them of is to wash their hands frequently and for at least 20 seconds. Remember, these are things that we think our kids know. It's critical that we sit them down and re-explain them to them. At break time, things are not going to be the same. There will be no rough and tumbling. There will be no walking or running next to each other. In fact, for many schools, there will be a distance, a specific distance where kids are required to sit. There will be areas where they have to be. There will be strict marshalling. So school, to the large part, may even feel like it's quite militant. You need to prepare your child. The class structure is going to change. For some schools, there will be bubble groups, so they may not have their class teacher. They may be in a separate class with a different teacher with a smaller amount of children. For other classes, they may have the same teacher, but their desks will be very far apart. There will be no hugs, no high fives, no close interaction. They will be required to walk far apart, to sit far apart at all times. Discuss this with your children, because the very nature of human interaction is often physical. Playground equipment won't be able to be played on anymore. Things like books won't be able to be read. Toys won't be able to be used. Cultural and sporting activities are going to change. There will be no sporting activities. And if there are cultural activities, they will be very limited and very different. There will be no choir. There will be no IT for the interim. You need to tell your kids these things. Things that we have always encouraged in them, like sharing. They're not going to be able to share their equipment or anything that they have with their friends or with children around them. So it's going to be very different. In the same light, we need to encourage and talk about kindness and tolerance, because for us all to be okay through this, there's going to have to be a lot of that. If someone sneezes, if someone coughs, it doesn't mean they have coronavirus, and it will really do so much damage in terms of the next few months and looking at how we can best get through it if children are starting to bully, starting to tease every time somebody coughs or sneezes. Talk to your children about these things. It's the only thing that's going to make a difference. You need to be in constant communication with the educators and the school about your children. If they are highly anxious or have any other difficulties, talk to the school. Let there be open communication, and talk a lot to your children about how they're feeling and any worries they might have. This is new for everyone. We need to consider the tremendous challenges that educators are facing, having to teach online, having to come into classes, and having to support their own families at home. This is huge, and we, as parents, need to be supporting our schools and supporting our educators. Remember, your school is going to do what's in your child's best interests, so talk to them about it. Parents, your response and preparation in this regard determines how your child is going to cope with the transition and long-term, their emotional well-being. So please, I urge you, sit down with your child and discuss these things with them. Do not presume that they already know them. We're in this together, one step at a time. Thank you. Goodbye.